Today, we're talking about next steps. We're talking about inspiration, the will to keep moving, things that we as artists struggle with all the time. And listen, I do a lot of gear review videos, do a lot of playthroughs, not a lot of self-help. So let me just jump into that and give you a bunch of advice from musician to musician to kind of help spur you along the way. Let's talk about career trajectory for a minute. Now, for a lot of us here in music, we have specific goals. And the first thing I recommend to you guys is actually have a set of goals. Whether you're an aspiring professional player or maybe you're an amateur just trying to get better at the cowboy chords to impress a girl or guy, right? There's all these different things that we can essentially shoot for. And eventually, we can make it to those things. I think for a lot of people who are in the workforce already, maybe guitar is just a hobby for you. Maybe you play every once in a while on the weekend sometime and you want to learn a new chord or new voicing. Good for you. Some of us, like me, I want to be a studio player. I want to be good enough to make my way in some of the best studios in town. I want to be able to read music on the fly, make incredible parts in the moment, and not be kicked out, right? So we all have our different goals in mind. But let me tell you, our idea of what we want to do in music, especially as a career, right? It can take many forms. And we have an idea of what we want it to be, and usually in the end, it's way different, right? Nashville, they call it a 10-year town, right? It takes 10 years to get somewhere. Now, what that is, it's kind of amorphous, right? I think the idea that most people have in mind is 10 years to make it to what I want to do. Well, probably not, statistically. Honestly, there are a lot more things to do in Nashville besides the big stuff that 5% of all musicians are doing. Most of the time in those 10 years usually fall within that, amorphous 20-25% of talent who can make a decent living, but maybe they do something on the side, or maybe they have a lot of different fires or pans in the fire, so to speak. But that all to say, the musical journey, your steps to achieving your desired goal are a lot smaller than you think, and maybe only a few steps away. Now, I think in the grand scheme of things, the bigger the vision, the bigger the idea of, oh crap, I have to cross this giant crevasse of guitar playing ability, or meeting the right people, or whatever. Let me tell you, I know plenty of really great musicians who haven't made it yet, and I know plenty more okay musicians that know somebody and they've made it, so to speak. But what is making it? It's, once again, kind of amorphous. So let me encourage you with something. The common saying is the road to hell is paved with good intentions. The road to a career or a goal is paved with small, incremental steps. And sometimes you need someone to tell you what those steps are. Sometimes you can be honest with yourself and figure out, hey, here's what needs to happen if I want to be at this level. I think it's a mixture of both. I think some of us who are honest with ourselves and who can be honest know what some of those steps are. But there are also things that in our blind spots, someone else needs to come by and say, hey, have you thought about this? And that is very invaluable. So having multiple sources to help you along the way, even yourself, can be helpful. So what are some steps you can take to move in that direction? Let me offer you some. 1, grab a notebook and write down the 10 things that you don't do well and want to get better at, right? Set a goal. How do you make it to that goal? Find 10 small things. Maybe it's only 5. Maybe it's a few things, right? Think about your career or your goals in the terms of who you might need to know, who can get you there, as well as the skills you'll need and the kind of following you need. Now, as far as the industry goes, let's say you want a career in music, right? Break that up into 10 small goals. But also, know what the big picture is. What is a career in music? Well, I think it's making money doing something musical, right? Fine. What does that look like in the immediate moment? Let's say you want to be able to make $40,000 to $50,000 a year, livable income, doing something musical. All right, well, here's the broad range of things you can do. You can teach lessons. You can build a YouTube channel. You can be a touring artist. You can be a touring musician. You can play bars every night in your local town. You can sell guitars. You can be an A&R. All of these things are music industry related. So let's dive deeper into what it really is you want. So let's say you want to be, in my case, session player, studio player, touring player, all right? You want to play for artists, you want to play in the studio, you want to play demos, you want to make money playing the guitar physically, all right? So what are those 10 steps? What are those 5 steps? What are those steps you need to get there? Well, 1, look at your skill. Are you at a place in your skill where you can play and make money, all right? Think about those things. Do you know the people who are doing it already and know how they achieved their goals, right? You would be surprised how easy it is to just take someone out to coffee and get their opinion on something. Usually they're very welcoming about it. 3, are you meeting the right people to get you the work? Listen, guys, all the really big jobs are already taken, okay? 80% of the work is done by 20% of the people. That's a Pareto principle, right? You've got some insane talent in some of these towns already established, making things happen. But what about smaller independent artists? What about artists that need budget projects, right? Things that are going to get you in the door with someone. And honestly, you only need to know 1 or 2 people to connect you with someone bigger. And that's what I think people miss all the time. You aim far too high, where if you went step by step in the process, you'll get there a whole lot faster. And then also find a mentor, right? Are you being mentored by someone? Are you being shown the ropes by someone who's done it before, right? Are you taking lessons? Okay? That's a big deal. The minute you stop learning is the minute someone takes your job, right? Those are things that you got to think about as a musician or someone who uses a skill they develop, right? It's not the same as being an electrician. Once you learn how to be an electrician, you can be an electrician and make good money, right? There's demand for electricians. You don't need, the Michelangelo of electricians, right? But a lot of people want really skilled guitar players, and that requires a lot of work. 10,000 hours to be an expert in your field, that's the rule. But that's 10,000 hours of good practice. That's not wasted time. That's not sitting around doing nothing, wondering what the next step is. That's 10,000 hours of effort, right? And some things, like guitar, require a lot of work. A lot of heartbreak, but a lot of work, right? So decide whether that passion is right for you. Guys, there's my rant on getting somewhere in music. Hope you liked it. If you would consider subscribing, please do. I make videos all the time. I promise they're not usually introspective, but sometimes it's what we need to hear is the hard stuff. Hope you guys have a great day, and we'll see you next time on IkeGuitar.